Did you know that creative expression can significantly enhance emotional well-being and mental health? Welcome to another episode of Spark and Ignite Your Marketing. I'm your host, Beverly Cornell, and today we're thrilled to introduce Angel Pricer and Keane Aldridge, the dynamic duo behind Full Color Living. With their combined expertise in intentional creativity, evolutionary astrology, heart-centered living, and holistic wellness, they are transforming lives through innovative programs and community initiatives. Their journey from self-expression to co-owning a business that inspires is both enlightening and motivating. Welcome. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thanks, Beverly. We're excited to be here with you.
Just a little bit of backstory for my listeners. We met through a mastermind group in Pennsylvania 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And immediately I felt an affinity and a connection. And I just really believe in what you all are doing and how important it is. Talk about your business's origin story, how it started. What was the light bulb moment? What was your spark?
The friendship that developed between us was really that spark. We had an experience painting together in this creative self-expression way that really brought things home for us as far as a name and an umbrella that we could identify as this is what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was Keane's first time painting with me and first time painting at all since kindergarten?
High school.
He was trying to cover this giant canvas along with me with these paints that I was using that he was really concerned about conserving because they're expensive paints.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what'd you do?
So I knew that the white was the least expensive. It's the biggest bottle. So I was adding a little bit of white to every other color that I was playing with. And my whole idea was to help everything go further. I was conserving resources that weren't mine and trying to honor and respect that. And after a couple of days, I started to ask Angel, I'm not getting the color that I want. Can you look at what's happening and help me out? Once she knew what I was doing, and she flipped out. She said, you can't do this. You have to live your life in full color. And that was a moment for me where the creative process showed me something I wasn't seeing otherwise, which was growing up poor and having that orientation toward conserving resources was a way that I was inhibiting my fuller experience of life itself. Just everywhere in my life, that was operating. So that was a way that creative self-expression helped me knock down that first domino.
I feel like this idea of living in full color and trying to mute the color was really profound. Why would you ever want to live less than that? But we all do it. We feel we have to somehow contain ourselves. So very powerful moment. What are some of the significant changes and transitions that you've experienced as you've had a business? And what has been the motivated moments that have affected those changes or transitions?
I think for me, one of the things is the being able to take the big painting experience, like this painting behind us is a big painting, right? And it's still in process. And aren't we all still in process, right? But to be able to take the very personal and transformational journey that I experience on a large scale canvas and deliver that same kind of experience to a lot of other people, regardless of whether or not they feel like they are a creative individual, and then see them light up, see the life literally come back into their eyes, into their hearts. That is why we do what we do.
You said, aren't we all a work in progress? One of the things that I talk with my clients about is your website is organic and living, and it's never done. It is a work in progress, constantly changing. And I feel from our perspective, I feel like I'm a pretty creative soul and I love marketing because it's a very creative industry. But the website is a reflection of you and your business, and it's never really done because you're always growing and evolving. So I love that concept of we're a work in progress. So is your business. So is your website. Like, it's okay to not always be done with something. That is a very powerful freedom to give yourself in that.
Yeah. We were just working on our purpose statements, our values and ethics. And one of the things that I was writing about was how we're creating an environment that is as supportive as possible for people, and recognizing that is a continual work in progress. We're continually cultivating, getting feedback, and adapting and modifying what it is we're doing so that people can have an experience of coming back to life in whatever way that is for them.
Business owners, I think when you say feedback, business owners are getting constant feedback, right? Like from either what feels good for them or what they hear the customers say feels good for them. And I think if we listen and we are open to that, we can really grow in such a way that it's almost, we can't even envision what it could look like if we actually do that. Like the possibilities are so endless and so big, but it's hard to grow. So how do you feed the growth? Like, how do you allow yourself? How do you give yourself that space? So how do you do that?
That's a good question. Well, you want to say something?
I'm thinking of a friend of mine who's into permaculture in a big way. And I was at his house and helping him to plant some hugel culture mounds. That's a whole other story. But okay. I said, how do we place these? And he said, just like nature, organically and full of mistakes.
Nice.
I love that.
That is wonderful. Yes, organically and full of mistakes.
Yeah, that is really how we continue to grow.
I think every entrepreneur can relate to that. Everyone's shaking their head, and organically and full of lots of mistakes. Yes. Yes.
That metaphor of planting a seed, like we were talking before joining you on the podcast about how so much of what we put out there of ourselves, so much of what we say and offer gets a cricket response. But then people will reach out and say, I've been wanting to do something with you guys for the last year, and I'm finally here. And those are powerful moments for us to experience. And it keeps the fires of inspiration and motivation lit for us.
I'm going to ask you permission to share a little bit of advice in that area. Is that something? So even with this podcast, I could look at my numbers every day and say, oh, I wish I had 100 downloads for this episode this week. I feel like if one person downloaded it, that was the person that was supposed to listen to it. Yeah. So I think that the universe, that's the one seed. That's the one person. If somebody honors us with that kind of time, that's the right person that's supposed to hear the message. Mm-hmm. So I feel like to you, I would say, even though you get crickets sometimes, the one person, the right person, that's what's supposed to happen. And if you do it for the right reasons, not for the numbers, if you do it because you fully believe in it and it's authentic to you, it will eventually come to be. Like it will hit the right ears at the right time in the right place. And even with my customers sometimes, like, this is great content. Why is it not going viral?
Yeah.
And like a lot of virility is based on algorithms in the right moment and the right interactions at the right time. And if anybody could figure that out, they would be a millionaire, right? There's a lot to that. You just never know what's going to hit either. I remember this was years ago. We posted about if you could share a picture of your dog for their dating app profile pic, drop it. And so over 1 million people saw that post. It was just the right time. That was for a franchise, and we'd posted it for 14 other camps that we worked with, but only the one camp went viral at the same exact time. Like it was a perfect case study for us to understand virility, because literally the same post, but the interactions, the time, the everything was just exactly had to hit. So that's why consistency is important, because you never know when the thing will hit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm done giving advice.
No, thank you.
I'm like a marketing therapist. I work through stuff sometimes with people, and it is true. But I think all of us are having this very human experience, and all of us are trying really hard, and all of us want things right? We want to affect change or our service or product to resonate with people. And it's really hard to be an entrepreneur. And so sometimes you get in your little bubble and it's just, it can be a little overwhelming at times. And am I doing the right thing? I hear from people who are running a business in that respect. I have to give us some encouragement as well. Keep doing what you're doing because it's going to hit the right person at the right time. So,
Yeah.
Okay. So what makes full color living unique in the realm of creative expression and personal growth? How do you ensure your clients, your customers find meaning and healing through your programs?
That's a great question. I think the first thing that comes to mind is that this way of creating is not reserved just for people who have skill or talent as artists. It is about returning that innate capacity to create to all beings. So people who don't feel like they have a creative bone in their body, which is something I used to identify with in my own life, just finding ways to reignite that spark inside of people is what makes it different, I think. And the ability to use that tool, like creativity as a tool, then to become more comfortable and emotionally fluent in our day-to-day lives, which is, it's like a subtle little magic power.
I'm all about magic powers. Who are your typical clients and what problems do you solve for them?
People who are in service to others are, and that really in some ways is all of us, but specifically people like teachers, like mental health professionals, healers, and anyone who is providing care for other people and also wants to still be able to have a life for themselves, because it can be a lot to provide care. And we were just reflecting on one of the efforts that we did. We did a survey about compassion fatigue, and we got so many respondents, like over 100 people responded, and it was a great experience. But we realized these people are tired, right? It's hard to keep them engaged in something. And yeah, so that's a little bit of the challenge in this. But when we have people, for example, like a teacher, and they continue to develop these practices in their own way in their daily lives, and then they share what a difference it makes in terms of patience, in terms of outlook and ability to even continue going to work each day, because it's a lot. I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah. There's something unique about the way that we help people. We're targeting brain health. We're giving people a roadmap through stress and overwhelm and how day-to-day life can land differently if they're doing just really specific, intentional things that only take a few minutes each day. We laugh to ourselves and imagine a conversation where we say, hey, would you like to change your life for the better in a lasting way in just 5 minutes a day? No, I don't have time for that. Because that's what overwhelm does, right? It makes us feel like we have no time, we have no space, we have no latitude to do anything except for try to get through all the things that we're doing.
On a recent episode, we were talking about how the president only has 2 suits because they want to minimize the amount of decisions that he has to make so that his brain can make the bigger decisions and has the availability to do that. And I think it's interesting that the brain only can handle so much, right? This idea of 5 minutes, you can't handle 5 minutes, but it is legit. I do a 10-minute like meditation, and I have to schedule it on my calendar. If I don't intentionally make space for that, it doesn't happen. I see you two looking at each other like knowingly. Is there an idea of intentionality that you resonated with you? What was it that made you shake your head and say yes?
I think of what our schedule looks like, and it's full of those reminders to just do the things we know we need to do for ourselves to potentiate that level of ease in everything else. And So we schedule time to do our creative process, time to do heart focused breathing, time to make meals.
Time to enjoy meals with family. Like all of these things have to get in there so that they can find their place and balance amidst the other things. Like I'd recently committed to a weekly emailing campaign for my astrology part of the business. And it feels really good. And I'm realizing, wow, committing to a schedule and then seeing it through is helping me to see how much time and effort and energy goes into this kind of like delivering this kind of service or content. And then I need to schedule another block for this other project, but where? Because there's all these other things. So it is, it's tricky. That consistency.
It's an exercise in prioritizing what's really important to your business, to you. I think every entrepreneur can get a little bit, I'll say the word overwhelmed with all the to-do list. It's up to you to make it succeed or not. You can hire staff, you can do things, but it's up to you what you're doing and your effect on the business, whether it's how you lead, how you delegate, all the things. Innately, it's hard for us to make time for ourselves because we're so busy trying to build a business. Entrepreneurs can really feel this, I'll say, discomfort in how do I prioritize myself in all of this and make it happen. 5 minutes seems even daunting. Being intentional in giving yourself blocks of time to either create or just think. Don't have the list, like just time to just, I schedule time to just think. Just have ideas.
As you're saying that, I'm thinking we're so cerebral in our approach to everything. And another thing that's unique about what we offer is that it gives us a chance to go into those body sources of intelligence, to be in our body for even just a few minutes helps to clarify and potentiate what we are capable of cerebrally.
Before we dive back into the inspiring world of Spark and Ignite marketing, let's take a moment to thank the incredible supporters who make this podcast possible. Today's episode is brought to you by BC & Associates Marketing, your go-to partner to help you spark and ignite your marketing. At BC & Associates Marketing, we believe in sparking ideas that lead to unique opportunities, whether you're a small business owner looking to ignite your brand or an entrepreneur seeking marketing mastery. Our team is dedicated to crafting tailored solutions that fuel your growth. From strategic planning to ongoing support, BC & Associates Marketing brings over 25 years of expertise to the table. We're not just marketers, we're your partners in success, committed to sparking innovation and helping your business thrive in the ever-evolving landscape. So if you're ready to take your marketing to the next level, visit bcassociatesmarketing.com. Let's spark extraordinary opportunities together. A big thank you to BC & Associates Marketing for supporting the Spark and Ignite Marketing podcast. Now, let's get back to the show and continue sparking those ideas. When I first started meditating, it was almost a joke because you close your eyes and it was like everything poured in. I was like, I don't want to close my eyes because it was a lot of things in my mind that just overwhelmed me. And I thought, this is supposed to be calm. I feel more stressed in this moment than I have felt when I am not. It is a practice. And over time, it's more of a droplet versus a waterfall kind of effect. And sometimes there really isn't a whole lot of anything that's happening. However, there's stuff happening. I certainly feel calmer. I feel more centered, more focused. I feel more confident. I feel like more ready to take on whatever life's going to throw my way, because I've had a moment of calm to center myself. And then usually right after I meditate, a journal about what's going to happen for the day and the week. What have been some of your biggest challenges in your business?
I think focusing down to one thing has been really, we're still not there, really. There's a lot.
allowing things to have a life cycle. Like when we get an inspiration, we're probably, and this is what we've learned, we're probably not going to get it to that point of launching and sharing it with people, but it's going to take a breath in and expand so that we can see more of it. And then it's going to breathe out. And then maybe something else comes in that needs to breathe in and breathe out. So we're constantly tending each inspiration and letting it come to fruition in its own time. And that has been challenging, but the more we lean into it, the more beautiful it feels to experience all of that. Like we're surrounded by growing potentials.
Cool.
You should see the visuals around here. Those giant sticky notes that you can put on a wall.
Yeah.
We have many of them on the walls around here with all of the ideas that come up. Like we'll be having a conversation and one of us will say something that's, oh my gosh, that. And the other one will be like, write it down, put it on the wall. So we have all of these visions. And it's cool when some of them start to take shape. Like I just did 2 marketing pieces this week for ideas, that one of which is like going into a school setting for a lunch and learn with teachers. And the other one is for couples or friendships who really are committed to the growth and evolving to their next level. And so now I have these marketing pieces and I'm like, wow, these have been in process for a couple years.
Yeah.
That's the other side of it. But the challenge is knowing that they're there, continuing to nurture them and allow them the space that they need to grow in their own time.
I feel like for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's the bright, shiny object, right? The squirrel kind of philosophy. Oh, this would be great. Like you said, the life cycle, Keane, that you dive all in and you try to get it across the finish line and you don't give it the time it needs to really develop. And then you move on to something else. A lot of businesses do that. And I do think, Angela, what you said about focus is so critical. The businesses that have succeeded, the businesses that have the most growth are the ones I've worked with, that have the tightest focus. They've niched. They have a very clear path of services. It's extremely focused. And that goes back to the why and the clarity. It's so hard for us. Like you think, oh, this might be the thing, or this might be the thing, or this might be the thing. But going back to what you really want to do, what really lights you up on all those lists of papers around your space is there's things that kind of stir you on a regular basis. That's really speaking to me. And it just keeps popping up and popping up. I can't get that. Like I'm driving and I'm thinking about it. I'm in the shower, I'm thinking about it. Like those quiet moments, I'm thinking about it. And those are the things, those are like whispers or echoes in your soul that are telling you, you need to be doing these things. And I think a lot of, again, assumption, entrepreneurs do what they think that their customer wants them to do and not what they know they should be doing. Mm-hmm. And that's where the true authenticity comes into place, is I'm doing what I should be doing and I'm serving the way I feel is good. So reminding entrepreneurs to do what you feel is like in vibration with who you are, not with your customer necessarily. Obviously, the magic is when it vibrates with you and with a customer. And then there's like that spark ignition that you're talking about. And that's where you want to get.
It is really hard for me because every day I say things like this. I just know that I really just need to focus on building this aspect of my astrology business, right? And then the next day I'm like, I just really know that I need to be focusing on this part of my creative business because they're together. And they influence what we do at Full Color Living, but they're also separate from it. So there's a lot that just I have going on. And then there's what we're doing together. And then there's Keane and the things that he does. So yeah, the way they're all interconnected
that's fantastic.
It's fantastic. And it's also challenging. Mm-hmm. It really is challenging.
Yeah. If you pull on one thread and say, all right, I'm going to make something out of this, everything comes with it. a little bit. And
Yeah.
they're like Angel gives voice to this thing is commanding her attention and her passion. And then the next day it's something else. And then maybe the next day it's, I need to paint for 4 hours today and take a bath and not look at any of this stuff. And that feeds the business and her passions and pursuits and mine as well. So recognizing that all of those parts, all of those ways of engaging with life are contributing to what it is we're trying to do.
To the whole thing. And even the bath. Usually when I have a bath, there is so much, I get great ideas of marketing, for example. Just do this, A, B, C, D kind of lists. And I can't tell you how many times I've hopped out of the bathtub, wrapped myself in a towel, and I'm just furiously writing, or maybe I start a sketch for a painting or something. Because really, like when you submit your life to love and creation itself, you're always on, right? It doesn't, even your rest is doing things behind the scenes.
Do you have a moment of pride where you've made a meaningful impact in the lives of your clients or your community? What was the outcome and how did it shape your perspective of what success looks like for you and your business?
We were talking before joining you about the 3-day challenge we just did. So it's 3 days in a row of joining us live on Zoom for heart-focused, creative self-expression adventure. Like what, 30, 40 minutes? And at the end, we give people a chance to reflect back to us what that was like for them, what they might have realized, what sort of insight or awareness they got. One of the people who joined us has come to some other events of ours, and she said, I felt like I had a weight on my chest when I started. And with each little mark that I made, with each brush stroke, that was falling away. And now it's gone. And I feel renewed. And with all the things going on in my life, I was getting overwhelmed. And now I feel like I can just go and do the things. And that is just a little snapshot that happens over and over for people who join us for these experiences. And I think that this metaphor of bringing people back to life, like you're feeling overwhelmed, everything in your nervous system is saying, oh, we got to get out of here. Just having that moment, and it can be a bath or a shower, it can be a creative process or a little heart-focused breathing that takes you out of that tight little circle that's spinning in the middle of our thinking awareness and open us up to everything else that's going on around us. It brings us back to that moment of being present with life.
I was thinking about that one, but also about a teacher that Keane has been working with for over a year now. Mm-hmm. And she's a veteran teacher, been in it, 27 years, something like that, facing just a few more years before retirement and like feeling like she can't. And their work together has really shifted her outlook on that and her engagement in her work. And I feel like that piece is just really uplifting to me. There are other places where this has happened, relationships, especially when I do astrology readings with people who are in a difficult relationship or healing after they've left a difficult relationship, just finding the way forward. There are lots of ways that has come to be, but I think that teacher experience just really touches my heart, especially because I have 3 kids and they all had different needs and abilities going through the education systems. I was interfacing with a lot of teachers and special education and things like that. And I really value what those individuals bring and the conditions that they're trying to work under. If we can make a difference in those places, that makes me feel really good.
At this point, is it mostly private individuals that are coming to you, or do you work with some organizations as well?
Yeah, so it's been private, and we are really, that's part of our growth edge, is to get into organizations, because we really feel like again, with the overwhelm, if you're a teacher or you're a nurse or you're a mental health professional and you're already battling your own overwhelm while trying to help other people, a lot of times you don't have that time or focus or energy outside of work, right? So we really have been making efforts to get into places like schools. We'll be doing a lunch and learn, hopefully in October.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. Places like the Highmark Caring Place, they have a wonderful grief support network that they offer. And so helping to train the volunteers is another thing that we're working on. But yeah, there are so many places it can go. That's the thing.
If what we're offering can be easily woven into what they're already doing in their workspace, then we can impact them in a personal way for themselves and have a positive effect on the work that they do. So it's an instant feedback loop that pays dividends while they're at work and everywhere else.
We're all humans first, and then we exist in our work environment, right? So that you have to go to the source. You can't just put a Band-Aid on something. You have to go to the source and fix it there. And then it has those ripple effects that we talked about earlier, and everything that they do, how they parent, how they're a spouse, a partner, and how they are in their work environment. There's always like the ways that we serve other humans exists in every part of our lives, and especially moms and teachers and people who are constantly caring for our kids. Those people really put a lot into it. I think teachers are superheroes.
Same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially since COVID. What's your favorite marketing tool or strategy, and why has it been impactful for your business?
Conversation.
Yeah. Having conversations with one or a really small group of people. Not only does it give us a chance to connect with other people at a human level, but to share what it is we do in a way that we can create a bridge of understanding. We're
selling widgets.
Yeah. It's not easy to wrap your head around. It's very experiential. So being able to be in the presence of a moment with someone and explain in a way or a few different ways that helps it make sense for them, that's really important.
And then the continued conversations that we have. Keane is especially good at keeping those lines of communication open with people. So when we have something that we're doing, like this 3-day challenge that we just did, for example, he'll send out messages to people that are not mass generated. And it's just nice. It feels good to connect with people and to be able to get a little glimpse into their lives and what's going on for them, because then that also helps us all feel better, but helps us continue to shape how we time our offerings, for example.
What is your long-term vision for full color living, and how do you plan to evolve, adapt? Are there trends in your industry?
There are some trends in psychedelic research, actually. That is one of the places that we're really interested in, because Keane came across one study in particular that indicated that creating in a group setting, creative self-expression with prompts and everything to allow for the expression of the experience without the need for words is really coming to life now, along with that whole set of psychedelic research studies that are happening. So that's a trend right now.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're definitely interested in exploring.
And it may be that the psychedelic assisted movement through PTSD is more well accepted or more prevalent than the supported creative self-expression experiences. But we'd love to envision a place where those two can commingle and give people going through this process of healing from PTSD another tool, another facet, or another way to bring some healing and processing to that big experience.
Yeah. So that's like the edge. But then there's all the other places where we feel it can go now. And schools are a big one. Mental health, another big one. So our growth is to hopefully be in more organizations, foster care, domestic violence. Those are some other places that we have connections with right now. But just to see, not only for us to bring these tools and experiences into those places, but to hopefully eventually create little pods like within those communities where people are learning how to do these, how to facilitate. What did we say? It's a feeling certified space, right? Where you can actually come and feel here and it's okay. And we have a way to move through that. The big vision would be more like full color living, inspired, creative, heart-centered ways of dealing with all of the daily things that people experience in places like schools and therapy and other settings.
You did talk a little bit earlier about how relational marketing is really important to you, having conversations. How have you created and maintained lasting connections on your entrepreneurial journey? What is your process for that?
Just reaching out, saying hello, checking on people, letting them know that we care how they're doing, that we're holding whatever it is they've shared with us in their experience, and we're reflecting back to them like, how's this thing going?
Yeah. And cards, handwritten note cards.
It's timeless art. I feel like that for sure. Yes. My mother-in-law would be very happy with that answer, Angel.
Sometimes even written in cursive if I know the person can read that.
Yeah.
So if full color living, easy for me to say, had a voice, what word or emotion would resonate from its core?
I'm thinking of Shirley Temple, like that little joyful, playful, disarming kind of presence that's smiling and a little sassy.
So dive into all of the wisdom you have as a human, as a person. Are there books, podcasts, or entrepreneurs who have left like that indelible mark? Like you have changed the way you function as a person or as a business based on the things you learned from that person, podcast, book, entrepreneur.
I had a sensitivity to electromagnetic frequency that I was dealing with for a decade. And it became a problem in the business pursuit that Angel and I were on, because we were moving into spaces that had multiple Wi-Fi and lots of things in the environment that I would feel an impact from. I read a book by Joe Dispenza called You Are the Placebo. And I sat under the shadow of a cell tower as I read the introduction and the foreword, and it just clicked for me. Like, I can do this. I can change the way that my body responds to these things in my environment that I think are going to harm me. And it was that quick for me. And then I had to continue to cultivate what movement I had in that moment. And the creative process was incredibly powerful for that. The heart focused breathing, which came just a little later, was even more of an anchor for me in that. But that book moved me into a place where I said, yeah, I can do this. And it was instantaneous.
I can't help but think of the teacher who exposed me to intentional creativity, Shiloh Sophia at Musée. I encountered her work many years ago just because there were prints of her artwork hanging in the store that I was working at. And I loved it so much. And I discovered that she had this visionary woman coloring book, and like you could develop like your plan for living your creative life. And at that time, I didn't feel like I had a creative bone in my body. I was inspired by her story, but I wasn't able to bring my story to life for a number, like there was about 10 years between the time I first encountered that work and the time I was able to actually fully move into it. I've learned a lot from that process and from the way that business is structured. There are things that I learned that I don't want to do also. So I think that's really helpful. But I don't know that I would feel as confident in moving through the world fully in alignment with the way creation wants to move through me if I hadn't had the support of that teacher and that experience.
I think that would be something that, for me, if I knew that I'd had that kind of effect on somebody, gosh, what a legacy to leave in somebody else. That piece of you that continues on, and what you have created that's out in the universe since then, like, that is such a lovely gift that she has given you. And what a gift you have given her by acknowledging that. That's lovely in many ways. Even Keane, what you shared, that author, I'm sure he had intentions of helping people, but knowing that he's like really helped you change how you live your life and the control you have in that, how empowered it has been for you. I'd love to hear these stories. This was one of my favorite questions, because people have such profound impacts on humans by sharing their gift, their knowledge, their information. This is what gives me hope for even if one person downloads the podcast, and maybe you can have that profound experience and help with them. Yeah. May I encourage my listeners and the people that are experiencing this, if there's someone in your life that has given you those kinds of gifts, tell them, because you will feed their fire in a way that you have no idea the consequences of that and how their legacy will live. So please share and honor the people that have helped you grow and have helped you evolve as an entrepreneur and a human and all those things. Tell them, give them that gift, because it is something that can change everything for them and give them such purpose. We're all bumping into each other all the time as humans and having these exchanges and these experiences, and like more of that sharing and goodness, I think, can just change everything.
There's another piece to this too, like just writing down for yourself the experience you had of somebody else having a positive impact on you, and just putting it somewhere that you keep re-encountering it, so that you're anchoring that into your life experience and your central nervous system. There are good things happening in my life. Mm-hmm. That can be a really powerful thing too.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
A strong reminder of the purpose that we have, the good things that were happening. Yes. It's crazy. What's one or two unconventional tool or app that's become your secret weapon for success or productivity, or something that's really helped you or your business?
I think it's literally the heart-focused creative self-expression practices that we use every day. That's what helps us continue to do what we do. And the practices themselves are our biggest teachers, because it puts us in touch with that inner voice, that inner fire that explains to us in a way we can understand why it is we're doing what we're doing and why we should. Lets us get out of our own way.
Yeah. And I would add to that, for me, especially astrology is, maybe it's becoming more conventional now, although depending on who you ask, it's still an unconventional tool. But I don't use it I'm not a predictive astrologer, but I use it for deep understanding and identification of cycles and patterns and timing and things like that. And it's been a real wonderful benefit for me to make sense of things in my life, especially as it pertains to my business right now. And I won't go into the details of astrological jargon with you, but I will say there's something happening there for me that's a pretty lengthy process that absolutely affects my career and my public life and how I show up. And so this time has been about reclaiming and elevating my engagement with creativity and how I bring that into the world. And if I didn't have astrology as my navigational tool all these years to validate what I feel inside of me, it would have been easy for me to continue to push that away, to just do the things I'm supposed to do. But this has been the thing that has helped me say, yes, I'm going to stake claim. This is why I'm here. And this is what I'm going to do, even if it goes against the way other people in my life think you're supposed to have a job and the 9 to 5 and all that. Like that, I am not cut out for that. And I know that. And I used to squash that. Now I know that and I celebrate it. And astrology has helped me do that.
Society and the people around us are very loud and it's hard to listen to the quiet voices in your soul. So honoring them is much harder than just going with quote unquote flow. How do you stay grounded? You talk about the heart breathing. How do you maintain a sense of purpose?
The same answer, really. It is because we have so owned the creative process. The things that we teach and share are so much a part of who we are. And that is what keeps us going. Like the things that are happening, we'll just say the last week in the world, it's really easy to get taken off center. I know when I open my laptop and I'm switching between tabs and my browser, every time I open up a new tab, it wants to feed me more news. And I'm like, wow. And I just keep moving into what I'm doing. But I recognize that easy to get taken off course and go into some of those rabbit holes. But for me, knowing that I have a clear sense of my day, because I start my mornings, most mornings, if I don't start my mornings this way, it's not as good of a day. But I start my mornings with my journal and with some reading material and maybe doing a little drawing. So that is what anchors me into the presence and the purpose of and the tasks of that day. That if I didn't have that, I have been less effective, more scattered, anxious, depressed. Like it's easy to get really down without those things. And then similarly, going through my vast array of notebooks, like just pulling one up from any year and reading in it and seeing this is why I do this. I've got lots of artifacts from lots of years to help tether me back to my why.
Yeah. Artifacts. I love that.
The tangible reminders feature hugely in the work and the processes we share. Give people multiple avenues to have reminders of something positive, something good, and a reminder that the practice is available, that it works, and that they can do it.
Okay, so the last question of the lightning round, which hasn't been so lightning, but it's the lightning round, is if full color living was in the animal kingdom, which creature would it embody and why?
Gosh, I think
A dolphin. Why?
because they're really smart, for one thing. They are creatures of connection. They share a language that other people don't often understand. They're playful.
Playful. Yeah.
They're innately compassionate. They want to help.
Yeah.
Wrapping up the conversation, if you could look back on your entrepreneurial journey and all the pivotal times and things that happened, the challenges, the successes, is there one piece of advice that you wish you had received earlier that could have saved you time, resources, headaches along the way?
That if we had received earlier, for me, it's just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going, keep showing up, keep doing the things. Keane had a business before this, and I tried to have a business before this many years ago, and they failed, right? They didn't do what we thought they should do. But now that those aspects of us are still alive in this business that we have now, right? And they're evolving along with us. So I think that's the big message, is to just keep going, to not give up.
And to allow every single aptitude that you have to participate in this journey of holding the space for this business to grow in.
Yeah, like it's not just about the one thing you do. It's about all the other things
The holistic
about
side.
you that bring that forward.
Yes.
And that it's okay to make mistakes and fail. You hear that, but people don't want to actually believe it or do it. I don't want to have a failure, but really, they're very helpful.
We've learned from really bad teachers some amazing stuff.
Yeah, true.
What practical advice would you offer to a small business entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur, somebody who's just starting out, to jumpstart their journey to seize their unique opportunities and ignite their business and marketing? Is there a tangible strategy or approach that they could put into action like right now? As soon as this podcast is over, it's like their homework to go do right now.
Yeah. Surround yourself with large Post-it notes full of all of the reasons why you are perfectly suited to do this work that you have set out to do. And
then start to share the content of those large Post-it notes that you'd surrounded yourself with. Share that with other people.
Yeah.
Give yourself opportunities to talk about it in a way that feels natural.
Natural, not in a way that's, hey, will you sign up for my thing? But just to, and if it's appropriate, of course, ask for the sale. But otherwise, just give yourself permission to talk about it and to look for the connection with other people as you continue to share and grow your business.
I think that's really what the podcast does for me. It's an opportunity for me to talk about a passion, connect with people, and do what I love. Talk about something that I really enjoy and meet interesting people who all have interesting journeys and certainly inspire me along the way. I love working with businesses, but the podcast is very much a different experience when you have that conversation with others. But yeah, I love this idea of surround yourself with the reasons why, like the stuff that really makes you excited. I have a vision board. Some people call it other things, but I have a vision board that has what I want, what it looks like for me and what it matters to me and why on the wall. It's like right there in my face on a really regular basis. So if I struggle and I look over to think or whatever, it's right there. This is why you're doing this. This is what you're doing this for. This is where you want to go. And sometimes when you want to go someplace, you have to look at who's the person you want to be there and what are you missing, looking for, need a little bit of help in to get there. And it's a good reminder of like the important stuff that you need to be doing, the prioritizing to make sure that happens. So before we go, why don't you share where our listeners can learn more about Full Color Living and keep up with your latest projects and events that you have going on?
Yeah. So we have a website, fullcolorliving.org. And at the top of that, there's a little button, right, that will let the listeners get a sense of what we do weekly on our Heart Start Your Week call. So Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. and Monday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern time, we are on Zoom live with whoever shows up, practicing 2 rounds of the heart math technique, which is a heart lock-in. So it basically gives everyone an opportunity to set the course for their week in a way that feels good and anchored and rooted in their hearts and in their values. Can do that there. Also, Facebook, Full Color Living on Facebook. We have a link that you can join us and lots of other things that we're up to.
Yeah. Our events that are in person and virtual are featured there. And we have little video clips, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, just to give you a window into our weird little personalities and a sense of what we do and what's important to us.
So thank you so much, Angel and Keane, for sharing your wealth of knowledge, your experience, your expertise today. Really, I just have enjoyed the conversation, the insights that you have shared with our listeners. You've offered some tips and strategies to enhance personal growth and creative self-expression. I really hope you found this episode as fun and enlightening as I did. Remember, you can implement any of the insights that were shared today into your life and your small business. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Angel, Keane, or myself. We are always happy to chat further about the things we're passionate about. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations and actionable tips to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit and your marketing journey and future episodes of the Spark Ignite Your Marketing podcast. And until next time, keep sparking and igniting. Wrapping up another episode of Spark and Ignite Marketing. For your weekly dose of inspiration, join our community on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok for behind the scenes and exclusive content. Until next time, keep the spark alive and stay inspired.